So we've got a couple of mics and I'll open to the audience, but I just want to start by talking about the question that I know lots of people will be thinking, which is about Maggie, the amazing Maggie. And how did you find her?
It's a very long story, but no, not a long story. We found her by kind of accident. My partner was also my location manager, and a couple of months before we were doing a recce, looking for locations, and he saw her and took a picture of her because she looked fascinating, and I agreed. I was like, oh, she's fascinating. We might, it would be good if she auditioned for the film. And then when we came to actually shoot the film, it was, we shot in a different locations 12 hours away in the city. And I started auditioning girls there, and it was about 900 plus girls, and everyone was telling me, it's a week before production, before we start shooting, you have to pick a girl. And I was like, I can't find anyone that fits the role. So he suggested, what about that girl whose picture you found interesting? And I was really skeptical because we didn't have a name. We didn't know who she was, and I didn't think they would find it. But the team all reassured me. They were looking at me and saying, we will find her. So I was like, oh. So what they did is they WhatsApped her local chief. They sent her a picture, and then he sent out, because I think he was in the Zambian Air Force, so he's really militant. So he took it on like, this is a task, I'm going to find her. So he sent out all his people, and they covered, it's a huge area that they covered, and they scoured to find her. And he said, you're not going to come back. You only come back if you find her. And they found her and brought her back, and they took a picture of her and WhatsApped it to me and said, is this her? I remember getting it, and I totally forgot that we were looking for her, because I was in pre-production mode, and I got a picture oh yeah, that's probably her. And then they brought her down, and she was incredible.
What did you do to work with her, to audition her, really?
I do this thing where I look at the script and I kind of find characteristics of what the girl is, and then try and find it through an audition process. So for the girls, I asked them to tell me a fairy tale, just to see how expressive they were. And she told me a really great fairy tale, which went on for about 10 minutes. I kept on saying, is it finished? She goes, no, I'm still. I thought, okay, that's good. That's a good response. She had a quiet confidence. And then I also asked the girls the ones shortlisted I had a suitcase full of props, and I asked them to create a play that they thought of themselves. So they go off for about 10 minutes, they think of a play, and then they do it. And I always watch how they interact with each other. And she was really quiet, and she listened. She was really in it. I could see her listening and processing. And she had this quiet confidence that it took me a while to get it. But when I knew that it was her.
Did she respond to direction when you needed her to try different things?
Well, I didn't, because what I do is, with her, I do the same with the adults. So when there's a scene, I ask her, okay, so this is going to happen. What would you do, and how would you feel? And then she says it, and she's pretty spot on. So I said, okay, so do that. But there were times, towards the end of, we'd been working together for 3 weeks, where she got it. So I'd come up to her to give direction. She goes, I already know. I was like, okay, do it. So she was amazing. She got it, and she's just so intelligent. And I realized it's one less thing I had to kind of worry about in shooting the film. So she's a breath of fresh air. It was she owned the role.
She's fabulous.
Yeah.
And it's a film with such a sort of a very bold and distinctive visual style, use of music. Was this in early iterations of the film in your mind, or did that develop as you were working on it?
Well, I remember, because I was trying to look for a structure of how to express it, and I remember I grew up with Zambian fairy tales, and Zambian fairy tales is constructed in a certain way. They're kind of genreless. They're violent, but they're for kids. They're violent, they can be funny, and they move really fluidly between these genres, and they have music. They have musicality. So I was trying to find something to tell a film in the lens of a Zambian fairy tale, really particular. So that's kind of what I was using to inform how I told the story. I wanted everything for the film. So this was a big thing, and I just kept on talking about fairy tales and trying to reflect them. So this is kind of how I informed, the tone and how I kind of approached it.
Yeah. Let's open to the audience. We've got a couple of mics, so if you put your hand up, we'll get 2 mics queued up. Don't be shy. There's one in the middle. We'll start here with the mic, and another one if we can get it queued up. Anyone else?
Over there.
Yeah, and another one over here if you... Keep your hand up and they can find you.
Congratulations, what an amazing, amazing film. It's such a brilliant conceit, and it's so intricate and so resonant and so fully formed. How on earth did you find this extraordinary world with the ribbons and the whole metaphors of it?
It's several things. So the ribbons were just kind of a physicality of kind of what happens in real life. So what you're seeing is like it's taken from real life elements, but it's not really a representation of what happens really like in Zambia. Because I got that before, where they're like, so they really tie women to ribbons, and I was like, this was. And then I was like, no, we don't tie women to ribbons. It's just me trying to find a way. So in real life, the research, because it's an amalgamation of all the research I took from like witchcraft accusations, and a lot of it, when they accuse you of being a witch, they kind of do these things that kind of limit your movement and kind of imprison you in a way. So like in Ghana, the witch camps I saw, the place I stayed, they had this invisible shrine in the witch camp. And this controlled the women so they wouldn't fly and they wouldn't commit evil. So I was trying to find a way of kind of showing this, but in cinema. So I thought of these ribbons, and they're fragile, they're not really chains, so it takes a lot of complicity to make them work also. So it's like this shrine, the women sort of have to believe that if they go beyond a certain point, they're gonna die. They have to also take part in this kind of belief system that's imposed on them. So this is kind of what I thought of the ribbons. Yeah.
Question?
Hi. Who would you say the film is for in terms of the audience?
I got asked that a lot in pitching, and I was like, I don't know. It's like I have to. What I wanted to do really is, because I had a lot of problems with expressing what I wanted in the script and in the tone, and everyone was asking me this about the audience. And for me, it felt like I wanted it. The thing that's Zambian is the tone and the humor. For me, it's very Zambian. I don't know if Mum will agree, but it's very Zambian. So I thought, okay, I can't be apologetic about that, about how, culturally we are. So I wanted it so that if it's a European audience, they have to sort of come to us rather than us go to them. So some things may be for audience outside of that a bit like, do we laugh, do we not laugh? Oh, I don't know. I wanted that to be like people come to us and then get our humor rather than me trying to explain everything to them and trying to set the scene. This is kind of what I wanted. I wanted it to be, in its presentation, that part of it Zambian in a way, that part. So I don't really think about audience. If you sort of, I don't know, have a sense of humor, I make things that I would like to watch, that's what I do, and hopefully other people will like it. That's the idea. Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a question with the mic, and if you could possibly bring the other mic down and queue up another one, that'd be great. Go for it. Gentleman with a mic. Sorry.
Oh, it's me. Rungano, please, can I just say first how gratifying it is to see Zambian languages on the screen. And
you're Zambian?
I am. I'm here with my aunt, who was deeply moved by your film. I don't know if she'll ask a question. Will you?
Yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you so much. It has been a very enjoyable film, very emotional in the end. I've cried throughout, but well done, girl. That's very good.
Thank you.
Great. I think thanks. We're having mic troubles here.
Hi, I just wanted to ask a question. So it was way more satirical than I was expecting, and I really liked it, actually. I was going to say, some of it was so satirical that did you ever risk, I don't know how it is, did you ever risk like people going, don't make fun of this or don't make fun of that, like from anyone who was funding you, or Do you know what I mean? I always feel with satire, that's always the worry. You never know. But I actually, that was the part that surprised me that I really loved about it. Just
Yeah,
as a thing.
I mean, you're right. But it only was one. I was surprised because it was only kind of a few conversations. They were like, people were very like. I was surprised because when I first before I started making my first film, I expected the worst from like everyone was telling me executives are horrible people, and then actually they were like, so are you happy with this? Are you comfortable with this? It wasn't that much of a conversation. They let me go with whatever I felt, and I knew that would be tricky. It's a very tricky thing to do because I was scared people would misinterpret it and think I'm laughing at a belief system, which is not true at all. I'm not laughing at that. And so that was a balance that some people get, some people don't get, of course, but it was important that it wasn't people laughing at and it's laughing with, like a situation that's absurd. And actually most of my anger is pointed at Mr. Banda, him. So he's the most exploitative of all of them.
I was going to say, it was like a Hollywood manager.
Oh, yes.
Great.
Yeah,
Let's get a couple more questions queued up if you put your hands up. Great, thanks.
Just wondering, have you screened this film in Zambia yet? And like, how was it received over there, if you have?
We haven't screened it in Zambia yet. It's just a bit complicated to get distribution there. So we have to find some way to distribute it and screen it. But we're planning to, for sure. It's just here it's easier because we have Curzon and then we have BFI, London Film Festival, so we can screen the film. It takes a little bit of organization, but I'd like to premiere it there, and maybe we're going to work with a festival so we can screen the film there. There's like one festival in Lusaka that happens, I think, around October, so hopefully that can be the premiere.
Question here? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you had a question. While we're waiting for the mics to go out, I just want to ask about the music, because I thought the music was incredible. There's a great mix of found songs. You worked with your composer, Matthew. Can you talk about that process a little bit?
Yeah, that was tricky. Where's Matt? Is he here still? Yeah, he knows how hard it was. Thank you, Matt. Can we just give a round of applause for Matt, because he did a fantastic job. There was a lot of back and forth, and it was totally hard to get, and it was kind of trying, and then I wasn't sure about the Vivaldi when we spoke, and I was like, oh, we've got Vivaldi, but maybe it's a bit obnoxious, and then he was like, but it's good that it's obnoxious. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. I'm gonna make it bombastic, and like, and so so we discussed a lot, and then the music was, something that it took a while for us to get it, isn't it? So. But I'm really happy with the results, and the actual found music was tricky. In terms of found music, the only one I knew was Estelle. I knew that was going to make it, but the rest was, it's what something makes me feel. I didn't know Vivaldi before this. It was someone else that introduced me to it, because I was looking for something grand, maybe classical, and then someone showed me some Vivaldi thing. I was like, oh, this dude is nice. Who's he? He seems reasonable. And they were like, this Vivaldi. And I was like, oh, sorry. So now I know Vivaldi. I listened to all the Vivaldi Winter. It was amazing. And I kind of, I got the hang of it. And then the others, so there's no rules. It's about what certain music makes me feel. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be any particular genre. If it hits the mark, then it goes in. So
what about with that Estelle piece? Yeah. What was it about that felt right for that moment?
I don't know, because because I wanted the purpose was for it to be really like, because she's objectified through it, and I wanted it to be objectified all the way through death. Yeah. And so I was trying to think of a song that you could just play naturally and is kind of timeless. And I think Estelle American Boy is timeless. It's just something that doesn't manipulate it. So I didn't want it to be like sad and manipulative. I wanted it to be like a kid listening to a song that you could listen to all the time, and it's really casual. And then something really bad is happening in the background, so that kind of, that's what I wanted.
Got time for a couple more questions. Yeah.
Oh, hi. So my question basically links all the question we've had before. Watching this movie, I loved it. it did come to mind that some of the jokes that I found really funny, sometimes I kind of judged myself for laughing at it, especially because I'm not from that background. Did this, especially that it's also a fairy tale, did you ever consider about the audience that you're showing it to, and then the image that you're portraying of Zimbabwe?
Zambia.
Sorry, Zambia. This is really bad.
Yeah, no.
Zambia,
yeah.
does that ever come to mind, you know, kind of Orientalism?
Yeah, for me, what I wanted also was this, because Zambia is actually not mentioned in it, but because they know it's shot in Zambia, everyone mentions Zambia. I was trying to be smart and hide it. And I remember there was some scenes with flags. I said, no mention of Zambia, no reference to Zambia. I told everyone that, but I think it didn't work. Everyone just thinks, oh, this is Zambia, you know? And I wanted to make it like it could be anywhere, and it's just another universe, but everyone always thinks it's associated with Zambia. And I know, yes, of course the jokes are inappropriate, but for me, I just think about, my family watching it, I'm watching it, and they'll find it funny, so everyone else has to join along with it. And I remember when I was editing and the editor removed this joke about, pick the dark one, and he was like, oh, I don't like that joke. I said, no, that joke has to go in. I mean, this is the joke, like, this is it. This is everything. This is like life, you know? And he found it very like, but it's harsh, it's talking about race and you know, everything. I thought, no, because this is something that people need to know that also happens in that part of the world in a way. But it's, you know, it's just, it was, for me, I had to make it. And I know it may be inappropriate, but.
No, it really wasn't inappropriate.
Okay.
I found it hilarious, but I just wanted to make
great.
sure that other people were as well.
I had that. I didn't have an idea, because I was sending the film links to people, and I didn't know that until people were writing back and said, I'm really sorry, but I found it a bit funny. I was like, it's about, like, laugh. And I gave a direction to all my family in the audience, and I gave them direction before the film. I said, you have to laugh loudly so they know it's funny, because people are scared to laugh. Just laugh if it happens. So, I know, but it's kind of my humor. So, and someone told me my humor is very cruel, and I should just go with it. I said, I do have a cruel humor. Yeah, I'll just go with it. So that's what.
There's a really nice, I heard previously that there's a really nice legacy from Maggie. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know she's now in a school.
Yeah. So she wasn't going to school before this, and we had given her like an onset tutor. And before this, she hadn't even held a pen. And it's fascinating to see someone who's kind of not isolated, she just hadn't gone to school. So what we did is kind of, now we're working with BFI and Film 4 to send her to school until she's 18. She started already, and she's so, I have to say that she's so smart. Like before, not that this is a judgment of how smart she is, but in set she couldn't speak a word of English. She started school in January. In Cannes, that was May, she could speak English so fluently, and she couldn't shut up. And I was like, oh my God, she doesn't shut up. Wow, this is what she is. So she's fluent, and she's going to school. She started off 18th in her class, and there's 30 in her class. Now she's 3rd. She's moved up. And she told me the day, I'm 3rd in my class. And I was like, good for you. And she's wonderful, and she's going to be 1st, and then now she's skipping a year because she's so smart.
What does she think of the film?
She watched it in Cannes, and she was like this the whole time. So I don't know. She was like, she doesn't want to, she's an actress now, so she doesn't want to see herself on the screen.
Well, you both got, I was at that Cannes screening, and you both got a really beautiful standing ovation, and we all here want to thank you for the film. It's really gorgeous, and I hope the release in the UK does very well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Curzon.